day of celebration, a day we rejoice, a day of freedom. In this day, we can proudly say, we are free. We are Pakistanis, and we are from Pakistan. Enlightening ourselves with the adventures of history, with me is Brigadier Sayyid Ghazanfar Ali, a retired army officer serving his nation for 37 years, and now providing his time and experience and knowledge in the media platform, giving his time to Din News with his hosting his own show, The Controversies Today. Thank you, sir. In today's topic, we're going to talk about how Pakistan took its first steps, how it all began, and what we are today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, integrity, freedom, rights, how do they hold ourselves? How do they hold and stand in this place called the Resolution Day?
Thank you very much. I really feel very delighted to be here, very honored to be here, because it's basically an education institution. And the basis of the Pakistan movement, creation of Pakistan, is also lies in knowledge and education. And how? It's not only that you started for a struggle for Pakistan just like that, coming onto the roadsides. Everything came out with a concept, and that concept was rendered through education, through the knowledge, or as we call it if we take it in Urdu, basically is a very appropriate word, which is called ilm.
Yes, sir.
And Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Rahmatullah Alayh, who is the father of the nation, he was basically initially for the Hindu-Muslim unity. Prior to this, the concept of separate Muslim state came into the mind of, I think, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan saw what was happening with Muslims in India. As there's a long history of subcontinent, when Mughals were there, Mughals incorporated Hindus into their own system. But as soon as the British Raj came, Hindus, the political leadership, they started the policy of divide and rule, and they went on to the Britisher side, thus subjugating Muslims for different areas of life, and Muslims were lagging behind. So Syed Ahmad Khan saw this, and in 1866 he established an Oriental college, which later on came to be Aligarh University. And you know, from Aligarh University, many stalwarts of Pakistan movement graduated from Aligarh University. Aligarh University, after that, it was the influence of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan on Qaid-e-Azam, on different leaders of Pakistan movement, that in Sir Dr. Allama Iqbal Khan saw Sir Dr. Allama Iqbal. He saw, as we say, he saw a dream of different homeland for Muslims. And then he persuaded Qaid-e-Azam Rahmatullah Alayh to come and lead the struggle for creation of separate homeland for Muslims. Because Qaid-e-Azam had gone back. He initially started, he was member of a Congress and very important leader of Congress. But he had gone back to England, leaving the politics, and Allama Iqbal contacted him and told Qaid-e-Azam to come. So your basic question, that how did all these traits came into the Pakistan movement, I would on this question I will conclude on this, that these traits came because we had an educated leadership who were part of the very famous institutions of the world. Like Qaid-e-Azam graduated from Lincoln University, England. Similarly, most of if you see Liaquat Ali Khan, if you see Nawab Waqarul Mulk, if you see different other leaders who were part of the Pakistan movement with Muslim League, they all were educated people who understood the vision of Qaid-e-Azam. When in 1940, Qaid-e-Azam said that Hindus and Muslims are totally two different segments of society. Their religion, their culture, their social ethics, everything is different. So they cannot coexist. And if they coexist, then Hindu being the majority will rule over the Muslims. Because Muslim League had won in a general election in 1944. Muslim League had won 425 seats out of 528 seats. So thus giving an impression that Muslims have to live as a separate nation. So all those states which you have just mentioned in the initial question came into the movement because we had that determined, we have done educated. Education tells you what? Education tells you discipline. Education integrates integrity in you. Education inculcates honesty in you. Education gives you a vision of the future. And Quaid-e-Azam and other Quaid-e-Azam had that vision of the future, which was provided by his interaction with the different intellectuals and different leading personalities of the world. So if you have an educated leadership, if you have an educated society, if you have an educated people, then all those states are do come into the leadership, and any movement which is taken similarly was the movement of Pakistan, which reached to its culmination on 14th August 1947, and Pakistan resolution, which we are celebrating on 23rd March, was moved on 23rd March 1940 in now we call it Minar-e-Pakistan, which we have a very magnificent building, and now we have a park down there also. And the resolution was being moved by Maulvi A.K. Fazlul Haq, and that's why the concept of the Pakistan came into being, and all these struggles started.
So how did the world react to when Pakistan became an independent state?
Actually, basically, you see, there's a common phrase which is said about the British that in British time the sun for the British Empire never set, because they were ruling from one part of the world to the other part of the world. As I told you earlier, that though the Islam has come into subcontinent when Muhammad bin Qasim landed onto the shores of the Debel, and he also came. Why? Because there was a Muslim girl who wrote a letter to Hajjaj bin Yusuf that we are being subjugated to all types of tyranny by the Hindu Maharaja, so please come and help us out. So Hajjaj bin Yusuf selected his nephew, young leading general Muhammad bin Qasim, and sent him for that mission, and Muhammad bin Qasim was able to capture Debel, and then his forces went up to Multan. So meaning thereby that Islam had come into this area. And before this also, the Arab businessman who came into the part of the place which is India. So the first masjid, they came into a place known as Malabar. Malabar is a coastal town in Gujarat, where first mosque was established in Malabar, and the Islam came there. So with the advent of this, then after that, the Muslim states came, Mughals came, they ruled this area. And in 1857, when Mughals were there, then there was a war of independence also. There was different, between the Britishers and between the Mughals, there were different battles. In 1857, after the East India Company came, so Britishers took over the reins of the subcontinent, and British were ruling this area. Since there were two movements going on simultaneously. Yes. One was when the World War came, First World War came, Second World War came in 1939 to 1948. A lot of people from this area participated in the Second World War. The British Empire, because of all those expenditure which you incur in the war, they were under a lot of economic pressure also. So in India, there were two movements which were going on side by side. Hindus were also not satisfied with the British, and Muslims were also not satisfied. Muslims started for, as I said, Quaid-e-Azam came, Muslim League was formed, and people started under the Quaid-e-Azam leadership. We started for creation of independent states. Similarly, there was another movement which was going on in India, and that was Quit India movement, which was for the independence of India subcontinent as a whole, as a Hindu state, which was being run by Gandhi and by Nehru. So they wanted Britishers to go, hand over the reins of power to them, and then they should decide that where how would Muslim be amalgamated into this area. But the Britishers also till the last moment tried that the subcontinent, this area stays as a one Hindu state, or as you call it, India. But when they saw that, as I told you, when there was an election and Muslim League won 524 28 seats out of 528, so they were convinced. They talked to Quaid-e-Azam. In 1940 the talks between Gandhi and Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali failed. Then Viceroy called Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Hey, Britishers tried to convince Quaid-e-Azam. He said, no, Muslims and Hindus cannot stay together. So the Britishers had realized by that time that if there is a need to divide this subcontinent into two sovereign states, that is with India and Pakistan. And they, though in a hurry, now if we could talk of how it was divided, what was the demarcation, and what were the merits and demerits, there's a lengthy subject, but they decided, and after that the Pakistan came into being. The world recognized Pakistan, and a lot of countries they supported Pakistan.
Could you name them?
I mean, you say the first the recognitions which came simultaneously, like Turkey supported Pakistan. Iran was probably the first to recognize Pakistan. USA, then Britain, and even our leadership. Liaquat Ali Khan's first official visit was also to United States, then Russia. So Pakistan was accepted as a sovereign state by the world, and then after creation, there are a lot of Pakistan started its foreign policy, and you see in Pakistan creation there is another very important thing one should keep in mind. Quaid-e-Azam said that this part of the land is here, though the Muslims were in majority, but he said that the minority will have equal rights to practice their own faith according to their dictates. That's why the first law minister of Pakistan was a Dalit. He was not a Muslim, he was a Hindu, and he served Pakistan under Liaquat Ali Khan and under Quaid-e-Azam. So you see what the concept of the equality which Quaid-e-Azam tells, that was practically reflected. There were no minorities, Achut or Dalit minister in India, but Pakistan had one which was recently created. So the principles which Quaid-e-Azam envisioned, they were literally implemented by him also. And his way of life, you see, it was so simple that you can't imagine that the head of a state who has created a nation, and what does he can live such a simple life. So the world recognized that Pakistan as a Muslim state is going to stay. Its geographical location is by default, by grace of Almighty Allah, is so that it provides avenues to lot many other states. So its importance in the region and the world cannot be denied, and that's why how world reacted to creation of Pakistan.
Sure. Sir, all this struggle and all this work put into the creation of an independent state, do you believe that the generation of today recognizes that work, that struggle put into all of that?
You see, it's a very important aspect of life also. It's very important aspect of education also, and it is a basically basic stone for aspects of motivation. All those nations, like Pakistan, came as a nation state, and though initially there was another thing also that I would like to mention. Then when on 23rd March 1940 the Pakistan resolution was moved, there was another party which was Azad Muslim League. In April they had their session also in India, and which were constituted about 1400 members, mostly they were leading or some of the ulmas of that time, who opposed the creation of Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
Because of a concept, they said that the Muslims cannot be, there is no concept of nation state in Islam. So they opposed, and there are some of the political religious parties which are still present in Pakistan. Their forefathers opposed creation of Pakistan. Even in NWFP, though NWFP people voted for Pakistan. In NWFP, when the referendum was held, people of people of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they voted for Pakistan. But Wali Khan and other who were the significant leaders in those days, they opposed the creation of Pakistan. But Pakistan came into being. Now, at this point of time, reading the history, taking lesson from the history, is the basic motivational theme for the youth of today. As I told you that knowledge, ilm, which you call it, in any form, and especially concerning your own historical background, is a basic stone for creating a building, and that building which consists of the knowledge and the vision. So until and unless you know that how this nation, which came into being on 14th August 1947 and then traveled through a history, that traveled through a lot of difficult times. There was a time when Pakistan came into being, there was no money to give pay to the people of Pakistan. So who came forward? Sir Aga Khan came forward. There was no office. We were not given the share of our holdings by the Hindu leadership. We were deprived of the share. There were refugees problem. There was settlement problem. And general concept in India was that Nauzubillah Pakistan will dismember one day and join India. But Pakistan went through the complete struggle. And today we are standing as a nuclear state. But this nuclear state has been possible after a lot of sacrifices. Those sacrifices which were given by our forefathers, and those forefathers belong to different segments of the life. That was the political service also, that was foreign service also, that's army also, navy also, air force also, and common man also. Because when we fought two wars, 1971, 1965, who died? A common man suffered a lot, along with the security forces and all that. So to know these things, and today, if you see India of today, and think for a moment, then go back to the vision of Quaid-e-Azam and the leadership of that time, then you know how important for me and you is to be in Pakistan. Today in India, the Muslims are being lynched for eating the beef. They are not allowed to eat cow beef. They are compelled to, some of them are being compelled to drink, they say Gau Mutra, which is sold in the market. There is a lot of killing going on against Pakistan. There is a massacre of Muslims going on. What happened in Gujarat? What was done by Narendra Modi, which he called the butcher of Gujarat? The minorities are subjected to all types of tortures in India. Muslims cannot speak a word. So imagine, they do not have a free life. They are being trailed by the hundas of the BJP. They are under the threat of saffron terrorism. They are under the threat of Hindutva. Hindutva is destroying the fiber of everything in India. It is the most, most downtrend state today, which India is. So thank God we are living in a free Pakistan. You realize its importance. Don't ridiculate how did we come into being. And it's very important for youth to realize this thing. Exactly. Today you are breathing a free space because you are living in a free country. So, otherwise, whole of the world is going on against the Muslim identity.
So, sir, what do you suggest? How can the youth bold its statement of freedom by itself?
No, youth have to be educated.
Education.
Yeah, education. Education is formal also, informal also. Basic education starts in the lap of your mother.
Yes.
Basic education starts in your home. So your parents are responsible, your elders are responsible for providing you the basic elements of your religion, which is your faith, and your country where you are living. Then you come into the schools and colleges. And in school and colleges, our syllabi should be so tailored. I feel sad, I feel very bad when I see the syllabi of today that you do not have any lesson in Islamic movement or in Pakistan movement. You do not read about the history of Quaid-e-Azam, Liaquat Ali Khan, Nawab Waqar ul Mulk, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and all those great people who were Allama Iqbal, who gave you this country. It's the fault of the government of Pakistan. It's for the leader of the Pakistan. Let me tell you, any nation which does not remember its heroes is always goes into the annals of history. So it's must that you feel pride, be proud of what we achieved today because of the sacrifices of some of the people who created this country, and that can come only through education. And I told you, education is formal also informal. Education is through the media also. Whatever you're doing sitting here in UMT TV, what are you trying to do? You're trying to inform people about 23rd March for 1940. Anybody who sees this program on different segments will come to know that why did Pakistan come into being? What was the reason of Pakistan's creation? So the youth is a very, in Pakistan where 65% youth is present, so they have to stand against the enemy. If Pakistan's sovereignty is threatened, who will stand against the enemy? It's the youth which is going to stand against the enemy.
Exactly.
So this is the medium of education is one thing which
Okay.
provides you the.
Sir, do you believe today we have provided the statement of we are here as Pakistan to all of the world today?
Yes, we have. Today the world recognizes your geographical importance and your reason for being here, reason for being in the region. What's happening in Afghanistan? Who is assisting the peace process? Pakistan. What's happening on CPAC? Who is assisting China? Pakistan. The different forums which have been created in the Muslim world, who is the leading member? Pakistan. So Pakistan has a place in world's politics also, and in the other segments of life also. As I told you that we are a nuclear state. So we are the only Muslim nuclear state. We are the only air force, Muslim country. If you see, we have the air force which has a aircraft production factory, aircraft production capabilities, like we are producing JF-17 Thunder. we have a place in business in the surgical department. You know the football World Cup, how much famous it is in the world. And the football, the basic thing which you play, the football, where is it manufactured? Where is it made? It is made in Sialkot by a Pakistani company. So I'll keep naming the thing.
Yes, sir.
I'll only say that Pakistan, whether it's sports, its foreign policy, its politics, its defense, its different alliances, the regional peace, in every way you say Pakistan is important.
All of the different sectors. Thank you, sir. Sir, please provide a message for our generation and our audience about Pakistan Day, the Resolution Day, and 23rd March.
Well, whatever I said in my talk is basically consists of those messages which I want to convey. And first thing is that know your country, know your history, try to learn from your history. And once, even as I said, it's a formal education, informal education. Try to read and read books about the Pakistan movement. It's not much that everything is told to you in the curriculum or in the university or colleges also. You have a responsibility to read these things and come up to the expectations of your family, expectations of your country, and expectations of your friends and society, and lead a simple, clean, transparent, and dedicated life in whatever profession you are.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for joining us. My name is Madhur Khan, and this is UMT TV. Happy Pakistan Day.